So you might just have a new one. So you got the iPad after mine. I don't think it's a black one. very good. Oh, I don't think that. I also changed the and then you can just sync it up. Like you can open this in your laptop. You can download Windows on your laptop, and then it's like a cloud. Yeah. I don't have it set up. You can like export pieces like me. Like if I was sitting down and I wanted to say I got an idea and I wanted to write a paragraph, or like write 2 sentences. Like you want to handwrite it? No. So I just want to type it in that I need to. Because it's like a normal. Yes, but you could also just use the times and minus. This would be really good. So this is too small. That's too big.
I got it.
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
That's it.
We will give you the thumbs up.
I saw it on the agenda.
But now it comes in and re-change the matching.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeroom Remmers from the True Animal Protein Prize Coalition, and we're here at the climate conference in Dubai. And I'm very happy that you are here and listen to my presentation about why low-income countries and small island states should address meat overconsumption in rich countries in the OECD and China. And what could be done with measures like CO2 taxes on food systems as funding mechanism for the loss and damage fund. I now try to get the next slide, but it doesn't work yet. Sorry. But can you help? But I can continue my speech. So we're here because the climate goals are... So the contents of my speech will be about the harmful lack of attention for meat in the climate negotiations, about the global meat consumption data, and the effects on meat consumption on the climate, and what the effects are on low-income countries and developing states, and a remark on the Loss and Damage Fund. So about the lack of attention. Well, we all know that, for instance, meat is a real problem for the climate. It's causing, together with dairy, it's causing 20% of all global greenhouse gas emissions, according to a report of Illinois University, which is the same as all greenhouse gas emissions from Russia and America combined. But it's not mentioned in any of the climate policies of countries. So this is, the elephant in the room. And it's a pity because we do have possibilities to reduce meat consumption, especially in high-income countries. And there are some countries who make starts with it. Let me tell that so in the nationally determined contributions of countries, meat reduction policies are really underrepresented. And this is surprising because in the last climate conference in Egypt, the presidency and also the last IPCC report both recognized the issue of meat consumption reduction, and they urged the world to implement measures. Food and agriculture now finally are a presidency flagship priority for the United Arab Emirates. So they come today with Emirates Declaration for Food and Climate. That's a good sign, and they want that countries report every year what is being done to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the food sector. That's good. However, this presentation from the presidency today at 1:30 does not mention the word meat. It doesn't really target the issue of reducing meat and dairy consumption. So this is a missed opportunity, and it's again ignored. This is similar to ignoring coal production in the energy sector and forget this harmful energy product should be phased out or reduced. So why do we phase out coal and don't we reduce meat consumption? I don't understand, because it's the same amount of greenhouse gas emissions, more or less. So today I argue that we will stop excluding meat from the discussion, and I will call on small island development states and all members of the G77 to join me in demanding meat consumption reduction measures in the countries that consume it most. Today, a letter to climate ministers from rich OECD countries and China will be sent to urge them to start policies to reduce meat consumption, including fiscal incentives or emission trading schemes for agri-food. 2 years ago, I initiated an open letter to presidents of the 50 countries that eat most meat, asking for carbon pricing meat and dairy. This letter was co-signed by 5,000 companies and NGOs from over 100 countries, and it can be read on the website futurefoodprice.org. So now we come to the global unequal meat consumption levels. Meat consumption has doubled since the 1990s. So in 20 years, we in the world eat 2 times more meat. And we know meat is the food product with the highest climate footprint. So it's really crazy, and it's expected because of people eat more and more meat in the world that in 2050 this will again be 40% higher. The global consumption of meat is on average 42 kilograms per meat, but in rich countries this is much higher, as you know. On average in the OECD it's like 71 kilogram per person per year, and in China it's almost the same. it used to be much lower, but now they eat also a lot of meat. So it's an unequal consumption pattern that some countries, like only 30 countries out of 200 countries, they eat most meat. So China and the OECD together form 35% of the world population, but they account for 60% of meat consumption and most of the greenhouse gas emissions from the food system in the world. The effects of meat consumption. Food systems in total cause around 33% of all greenhouse gas emissions according to the UN. Of these emissions, around 60% are caused by meat and dairy consumption globally. I mentioned it already. So this means 20% of all greenhouse gas emissions are from meat and dairy. This number only increases when looking at higher income countries. In Europe, for instance, according to the report from last year, meat and dairy cause 80% of all climate footprints in diets. And this is similar in the United States and other OECD countries. But nothing is done about it to reduce this. Except of countries like Denmark and New Zealand. They are trying to implement greenhouse gas emission taxes for livestock or for beef in Denmark. When we look beyond greenhouse gas emissions, the picture goes not any better. Not only meat consumption is disastrous for the methane and CO2 levels in our atmosphere, the livestock sector is also a key driver of land use change and biodiversity loss. It's causing almost 80% of biodiversity loss in the world, and this is also neglected. The consumption of meat costs our Earth 13 billion hectares of forest area annually. Not only does this further hurt our chances to reduce effects on climate change, it's also detrimental effects on water, soil, and biodiversity. And the health effects are also clear. In the Netherlands, for instance, we commissioned a report which showed that a lot of healthcare costs, over 1 billion euros per year, is linked to the high overconsumption of red meat and processed meat. So it costs us as consumers a lot of money that we eat too much meat. And it's not healthy, of course, for ourselves. So the disproportionate effect on climate change can be seen by countries like OECD and China. There are a lot of negative effects on small island states and the developing countries. Sorry. I think I've nearly to finish my story. Sorry. But as you know, we started an initiative that from today on developing countries and other non-OECD countries can sign a resolution, a letter we sent to the ministers of climate and environment of OECD countries and China, asking this issue I just mentioned and asking them to take measures. There's already one country, the country of the Republic of Congo, who signed this resolution, and we hope more countries will follow. We hope that this climate conference will be a success, of course, and we believe that this can be successful if it includes meat consumption reduction policies in the center of all programs for reducing emissions in 2030, including the methane pledge, mitigation and climate finance, loss and damage, retail and meat industry pledges, etc., especially in OECD countries and China. And of course we hope other kinds of measures will be taken as well in the global and national meat consumption reduction commitments of those rich countries. We need carbon pricing mechanisms for food and meat also in the declaration of the Emirates Declaration, and we also urge the OECD, the Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition, the G20, China, and the EU Commission to lead the way towards harmonized carbon pricing in food systems. Also including meat, of course, and we hope that there will be a high-level committee on carbon pricing agri-food systems next year during the COP. Furthermore, we ensure that members of the G77 and small island states can adopt to climate change. The Loss and Damage Fund was created. We propose that revenue from future global carbon pricing food systems should be at least partially be used to fund 20% of climate finance for the Loss and Damage Fund. Because if meat and dairy cost 20% of all global greenhouse gas emissions, it makes sense that also 20% of taxes on those emissions from the food system is be used for the loss and damage funds, because eating meat causes loss and damage in other countries. We have all seen the television pictures of the floods in Nigeria and Pakistan. We know that that small island developing states have the problem of sea level rise. This is also caused by the meat consumption in the rich countries in China. So this should be targeted. Tomorrow I also organized a side event with the global head of sustainability of Unilever about the need for carbon pricing in agri-food systems. We will speak about a recent report published 13th November this year by the EU Commission about the new ETS system, an emission trading scheme for agri-food systems in Europe. We expect that after the EU elections this will become a priority for the EU Commission, that the polluter pays principle will be finally applied also in agriculture and not only in the energy sector for like CO2 taxes. And tomorrow at 10:30 I will also give another press conference about CO2 labeling and CO2 pricing in food examples in Europe of retail companies and catering companies how they apply it. And I'm very happy that this year when you go and buy some food here at the COP, you can see some CO2 labels showing that some food products have a high footprint and others have a low footprint, so you can make your own choice during this conference as well. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, the floor is yours.
Sir, I have a question. So, then would you urge G77 and China this bloc to phase out meat consumption?
No, it's not about phasing out meat consumption. Meat consumption can be a healthy thing to do, but it has to be reduced. It's the same like using energy. Of course, we all use energy. We don't have to phase it out, but it should be reduced because it has a high climate footprint, and we can eat more plant-based protein products like vegetables, beans, meat and dairy alternatives. This can be stimulated by countries. It's already done by a lot of countries to invest in this sector and reduce prices for meat and dairy alternatives. In the Netherlands, where I live, there are a lot of supermarkets have now the same prices per kilogram product for meat and the meat alternatives. So people will react on it when prices change of those products. So thank you. Any other question? No? Okay, this gives me... yes, I have still 5 minutes. Okay, my presentation was faster than I expected, but maybe I can tell you more insights about some developments in specific countries where they already targeted this issue. For instance, in Germany, the Minister of Agriculture is also asking for a consumer levy on meat. But here the political problem is that the Minister of Finance does not like this idea, but there is a big debate in Germany as well. In the Netherlands, it's more or less the same. The government a few months ago was making an agriculture agreement, and they wanted to finance farmers for climate and nature measures, to finance it with a lot of money, and this could be also financed by a meat tax, for instance. But unfortunately, this farm agreement was not signed, so it's now not an option anymore, but it was high on the political agenda. But as you know, we had the elections, and now there will be another government coming. But it's on the agenda, and in Denmark it's further. There's a lot of political commitment for greenhouse gas emission taxes for the livestock sector. We expect that next summer there will be proposals for farmers that they have to pay for the greenhouse gas emissions they cause. And in addition to this, we expect also a tax on beef in Denmark, because it's not only about production but also about consumption that should be changed, and not only the farmers have to blame and pay for the emissions. And in New Zealand there was also a proposal for a similar proposal compared to Denmark, but this was postponed to 2030, but it's still there. Are there more questions? I see. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm from the United States, and my first thought is meat is just so cheap. So I'm wondering, with this tax, is the objective to have the price the same as meat alternatives, or have meat more expensive? And then also, I have a follow-up question if you want me to ask that.
Yes, okay.
Oh, okay. So I know that there's current research being done on stem cells when it comes to meat. So they're planning on taking stem cells of a cow, for instance, and making cow chips. And so I find that really fascinating. And so I'm wondering if you think maybe like an integrated system, not cutting out meat completely, but making it more sustainable. That's something that your organization has looked into.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the idea that meat and also dairy in a few years' time will become more expensive as a result of carbon pricing. It could be an emission trading scheme like they have in California now. They can include this also for the agriculture or food sector. For instance, dairy or farms or slaughterhouses could be part of it, like this is the EU proposal now. But the idea is that when it becomes more expensive, that people eat less meat. So for instance, we commissioned a report, and when the meat price would go up in the Netherlands, people would eat 50% less meat in 2030. So this is what we need for the climate Paris agreement. Those kind of reductions are needed to keep. And about stem cells and artificial meat, I think this is what you are targeting at. What we think about it. I think this is a good development comparable with meat alternatives like Beyond Meat, etc. By the way, they are also a partner of TAP Coalition, but it's not on the market yet. Only in Singapore, I think, maybe in USA as well. But it's really expensive, so it will take a lot of time before it reaches to consumers, and they have fears about the idea that it's not made in a laboratory. So I don't know about what I can expect from it, but I think for the climate it would be good that this will break through. Yeah. Maybe there's room for one more question. No? Okay, I'm closing and make space for the next presentation. So thank you very much for your attention, and when you want to read more about our proposals, you can go to our website. It's TAP Coalition, TAPP coalition.eu, and in the last news item you can see all the my speech, for instance, but also the resolution which we want to send today to the OECD and China. So thank you very much.
Jeroom